I bought into a lot of the things that you said. And for about 2 years, it led me astray and significantly damaged my personal life, including relationships.
How did it lead you astray?
Hello, everyone. Welcome again, Thoughts on These Things family. So this is going to be very interesting. Myron from Fresh and Fit podcast. And for those of you who are wondering who Myron is part of the community of men who believe that society is rigged and biased against men, especially in marriages and divorce, and that feminism has led to the breakdown of traditional roles and values. But the problem is the solution that they offer, which is based largely on self-improvement in the area of financial stability and physical fitness, but also emphasizing on emotional detachment, even going as far as encouraging men to sleep with as many women as possible. So Myron was called out by a young man who claimed that the advice he has received from him over the years ruined his life. So I'm going to be reacting to this video, but before we get into that, if you have not subscribed to this channel yet, make sure you subscribe because a huge percentage of people who regularly watch this channel are not subscribed. So do me this favor, subscribe now. And without further ado, let's jump into this conversation.
So can I ask a quick synopsis of what you think the prescription is for society today for men? In a short version, what do you think they should do to be successful with women?
To be successful with women,
Yeah.
Okay, are we talking about like getting a girl for a long-term relationship, just to get laid? What are we talking about?
Well, I think the only reason should be for a long-term relationship and marriage. I mean, that's Jesus Christ founded it, but I'm just curious what your prescription is.
Well, I've talked about this. I think guys have to have certain things in place, right, before they want to get into a long-term relationship. It's 5 things. So I would say $100K per year, 6 figures a year, 6 months to 1 year of savings, be in good shape, have at least 50 partners, right, sexual body count.
All right, and then is that the last one?
And then there's one more, but that's fine. You could go ahead and
Okay.
engage with what I.
Have you noticed that all these solutions are geared towards material acquisition, physical fitness, and sexual promiscuity? But let's continue watching.
I've said so far.
So the reason I asked that is I've watched almost every single podcast you ever did for about a year and a half. So much so that I bought into a lot of the things that you said. And for about 2 years, it led me astray and significantly damaged my personal life, including relationships.
How did it lead you astray?
Well, you told me to go sleep with a bunch of women and date multiple women at the same time, which I did. And it significantly damaged my life. And it wasn't until I actually turned around and started listening to Jesus Christ that I was saved. Now I'm happily married. I have one child now with another one on the way, and I've never felt happier. But I felt...
Congratulations. That's good. That's really good.
Thank you. And I know you're not against that, but my concern is what you're saying to men leads them astray because I'm a walking example of it. And I think you're significantly damaging people, and especially you're leading people away from morality. Women are not sex objects. Women are created in the image of God, and they are valuable. And they should be treated as such. Why should God give you one of his children if you don't even know how to treat them? So I think...
So a question for you. You said you got out there dating and meeting women and stuff like
Yep.
that. And then you said that it kind of hurt you.
Yeah.
How did it hurt you specifically? Did you like just start? What happened specifically?
Well, I started warring against my own flesh. It's like trying to fill an empty void.
Mm-hmm.
There's a God-shaped vacuum in the heart of every man that can only be filled by God alone. Anything else you try to fill with that's not going to satisfy it.
Sure.
And I tried to do it with sex.
That's
Yeah.
true.
So would it be fair? How'd you meet your wife?
We actually had the #1 dating podcast in North and South Carolina called Who Hurt You Podcast.
Okay.
And I'm also friends with Fresh. I know him very well. I texted him before I came here.
Yep.
And I know pretty much everyone on your crew. But I was a heavy follower, and you actually inspired me to start the podcast. And I realized what I was doing was wrong.
Yeah. So would it be fair to say that when you went through that experience, you were able to identify characteristics that you probably found as unredeemable and you probably wouldn't want to commit to, right?
In what way?
Well, when you were seeing these women, right, you probably started seeing patterns in how they behave, how they speak, or whatever. Maybe they're not qualified to be a wife. Because the thing is, right?
Well, I don't need that. I have the Bible for that. It tells me what to look for.
Yeah, but the thing is that you were able, and again, you're probably not going to notice it, but when you dated and dealt with all these women, you probably were able to identify characteristics that you were not fond of, or characteristics that would make a woman not a good candidate for a long-term relationship. And I think half the game is figuring out which girls don't qualify for marriage versus which ones that do. And clearly you learned a skill set on how to become attractive and get women. And then you're able to identify the things that you like versus the things that you don't like. And that only comes a lot of times with experience. Now, look, if a guy can go ahead and, find a woman as a virgin and be attractive and be able to understand how to navigate that, that's great in modern times. But the reality is a lot of guys don't. And I mean, even in your success story, you had to go through a lot of bad women to be able to identify your current wife as the one. So failures are good. They're good.
Yeah.
Guys, please, I want to hear your thoughts on these things in the comments. What do you think about this conversation so far? Do you see how he's trying to attribute the success of this young man to the program or the advice he has been offering? What this young man is saying is the advice he has received from them over the years has ruined his life. However, look at how Myron is trying to spin it that maybe it was because of the advice that he became successful. I'm curious. Let me know what you think about this in the comments.
Failures, failures in the sense of socioeconomic or maybe even relationship failures could be good, but there's a difference with what I'm saying. I'm saying that we're warned against our soul. Jesus Christ commands us to marry one woman. That's it.
Sure.
Like what you were causing me to do was sin against myself. And that's the point I'm trying to get to. It's immoral.
Yeah, I mean, you got to take personal responsibility, bro, because here's the reality.
No, I do, 100%.
Yeah, so
very publicly, I have in front of over
why-
40,000 people. I've done that.
Yeah, great. But the point I'm trying to make is I teach guys a skill set, right? If I give you a gun and you shoot yourself in the foot, is that my fault? If I taught you how to properly use it, how to disarm it, disassemble it, how to load the magazine in properly, all that. If I give you the skill set, then you shoot yourself in the foot, right? Is that really my fault? No, I just arm you with the skill set. Then you choose what you want to do with it. Now, obviously, you wanted to go toward a sex escapade, which is, I guess, fine. But the reality is I armed you with the tools to become an attractive guy, and you utilize that. You can't come back and get mad.
No,
and
you
say,
didn't arm me with that. I became attractive when I followed Jesus. That was it.
Oh, okay. Now it's changing the story.
No, I'm not changing any story. It's one thing to be attractive in the sense of gaining sexual partners, but it's a completely different thing to be attractive to someone that wants to marry you and spend their life with you and have kids with you. Those are two completely different sexual attractions. If I walk in here looking like Thor, I'm 6'2" and shredded, obviously I'm going to be attractive to women, but it doesn't mean that that's a relationship that produces value for me and my family.
And again, everyone is different, right? For you, it took some time and you found God and you shifted. But the reality is I gave you the skill set and then you choose what you want to do. That's up to you, and you made that decision, not me. I just taught you what to do.
Exactly. It's on me 100%. I'm not placing blame on you. But what I'm telling you, from someone that listens to you, I'm trying to let you know what happens when you speak to people and tell them to do these things.
Here's the other thing, too. Like, now you're operating with 20/20 hindsight. You went through it. You experienced
Correct.
it. You
That's
know.
true.
A lot of guys need to get their hand burned sometimes to figure out how things work. Because, let's be honest, men are very stubborn.
Why do they need to do that? If they find a God-fearing woman, they wouldn't do half the stuff you're talking about.
Well, here's the thing. Finding a God-fearing woman in today's day and age is a lot harder said than done, right? So
I did it.
Yeah, it's a lot harder.
And so did everyone in my whole family. So it's not that hard.
Yeah, that's anecdotal from your perspective. But again, you learned a skill set. You were able to find a wife, and I'm happy about that. But you got to take a little bit of accountability here and understand that you basically got a loaded gun and shot yourself in the foot, and you're trying to blame me for it.
No, I'm not blaming you. Like I said, I take accountability.
Okay.
There's a big difference there.
Okay.
But look, nothing against you. Like I said, I've hung out with Fresh 8 or 9 times recently. I love them, and I think your heart is in the right place. But I just wanted to give you from someone that actually listened to what you were saying to do, read your book, and it didn't work. That's all I was trying to do for you.
Well, actually, it did. You didn't notice it yet.
Okay.
You're not going to be able to identify your wife and have been able to find her and figure out what characteristics you like and don't like, right? Unless you went through that.
My wisdom came from the Bible, not you. But I appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think this is a really good conversation, and more young people need to see this and be aware of this dangerous path that some of this advice are leading young men to. Recently, I did a live Bible studies where I talked about how many people have ruined their life without knowing, simply by following wrong advice. Now, the Bible talks about something very profound about this, and I really love it in Psalms 1, verse 1. This is the first thing you'll find in the book of Psalms. Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stand in the path of sinners, nor sit in the seat of the scornful. So if you do not walk in the counsel of the ungodly, that is, don't follow the instruction of the ungodly, or don't follow the strategies of the ungodly, don't follow the wisdom of the ungodly, and if you don't stand in the path of sinners, nor sit in the seat of the scornful, it says, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law he meditates day and night. He shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of waters that brings forth its fruit in its season, whose leaf also shall not wither, and whatever he does shall prosper. So here you can see that there is a blessing from just ignoring ungodly counsel. If you don't walk in the path of ungodly counsel, you are blessed as a result of that. What we can see here is there is a clash of worldview. We have the ungodly wisdom on the one hand, and we have godly wisdom on the other hand. And what Myron from Fresh and Fit, what these guys are offering has the appearance of wisdom, but that is fleshly wisdom. That is worldly and ungodly wisdom. And you can see that distinction clearly in the book of James chapter 3. Yeah, right here. Verse 15, it says, this superficial wisdom, it appears to be wisdom, but it is superficial. This superficial wisdom is not that which comes down from above, but is earthly, that is secular, natural, unspiritual, even demonic. So sometimes some people have appearance of wisdom. What they are saying may appeal to the flesh, may appeal to the unregenerate man, But this advice are natural, superficial, ungodly, and even demonic. For where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there is disorder, unrest, rebellion, and every evil thing and morally degrading practice. So when you follow the advice that these young men are offering, what does it lead to? Morally degrading practice. But when you contrast that with godly wisdom, what happens? The Bible says in verse 17, but the wisdom from above is first pure. Any advice that young men are giving that doesn't lead them in the path of purity, know that that is demonic wisdom. Because the wisdom from above, the wisdom from God, the first fruit of it leads to purity, morally and spiritually undefiled. There's no way you will sleep with multiple women and you don't defile yourself in the process. But the wisdom of God leads to purity, morally and spiritually undefiled. Then peace-loving, courteous, considerate. When you encourage young men to treat women as people of less value, you're not being courteous to them, you're not considerate to them, you're not treating them as image bearers of God. So you're not being courteous, you're not being considerate. But let's go further. It says, then peace-loving, courteous, considerate, gentle, reasonable, and willing to listen, full of compassion and good fruits. It is unwavering, without self-righteous hypocrisy and self-serving guile. You can contrast that with the kind of wisdom that is being presented by people who are in the red pill community, that those advice that they give, they are demonic, they are fleshly, they are ungodly, they don't come from God. But I'm happy that this young man came out to just talk about the difference between what he learned following Myron and Fresh and Fit over the years, and now how he turned his life around just following biblical principles. Don't follow people's advice simply because you think they have good intentions. I often emphasize that good intentions is not the reason why we listen to people's advice. Many people listen to good intention advice and have ruined their life as a result. We don't follow people because they have good intentions. We follow people because they have godly advice. They present us with godly advice and they give us advice that are based on principles that are right and have walked through generations. But when you see people who are presenting advice that is just only peculiar to a particular situation, even though they may be good intention, but if it's not godly advice, you should know that that is not a path that you want to find yourself in. Remember Psalm 1, blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the ungodly. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this in the comments. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. My name is Oluwagbemigoine. Thank you for being a part of this community, and I will see you in the comment section. God bless you.